51 years this code sat unread. 340 characters. Symbols, letters, backwards writing, deliberately scrambled by a man who wanted the world to know he was smarter than everyone hunting him. The FBI tried. Military cryptographers tried. The NSA reportedly tried. For half a century, nothing. Then in December 2020, three men who had never met in person, a software developer, a mathematician, and a programmer living on 3 different continents, cracked it in a matter of weeks. What they found didn't name the killer, but it revealed something else. Something about how these cases actually get solved now. And it has almost nothing to do with the people we assume are solving them. To understand what changed, we need to go back to a quiet California night in 1968. Between 1968 and 1970, a killer began terrorizing couples parked in isolated lovers' lanes across Northern California. He shot some victims. He stabbed others. He confirmed at least 5 deaths, though he claimed the number was much higher. What made this killer different wasn't just the violence. It was what came after. He wrote letters to newspapers, to police, taunting, confident, signed with a circle and crossed lines symbol that would become one of the most recognized icons in American crime history, the Zodiac. Buried inside these letters were ciphers, codes. He claimed that if his messages were decoded, they would reveal his real identity. The first cipher, 408 characters long, was solved within a week by a school teacher and her husband working the puzzle at their kitchen table. It contained no name, just a chilling statement about how much he enjoyed killing.
But the second cipher, sent that November, was different. Longer, more deliberately confusing.
And for the next 51 years, absolutely nobody could break it. Everything about the Zodiac case seemed destined to stay exactly where it was. A legend, a mystery, a cold case gathering dust in an evidence room. Until 3 strangers on the internet decided to try anyway. Here's what most true crime coverage skips entirely. The FBI never actually stopped working this case. Their cryptography unit reviewed the 340 cipher for decades, using every tool available to government cryptographers. They failed. Not because they weren't skilled, because the cipher itself was built strangely, combining 2 different layered encryption methods that almost never appear together. A homophonic substitution cipher, where multiple symbols could represent the same letter, tangled with a transposition cipher, where the order of letters was scrambled on top of that. Picture the scene. Rows of symbols, some triangles, some backwards letters, some completely invented shapes, stretched across a page mailed from a killer who wanted to be caught just enough to keep taunting, but never enough to actually be found. Codebreakers who tried treated it like a normal substitution puzzle. Swap a symbol for a letter, look for patterns, repeat. It never worked, because the puzzle wasn't just substituted, it was also shuffled. For 51 years, everyone was solving the wrong kind of puzzle. But here is where the story takes a turn that almost nobody expected.
In 2020, during a global lockdown, an Australian mathematician named Sam Blake had unusually large amounts of free time. Restricted to 1 hour outside a day, he came across a YouTube video by a man named David Aranchak, someone who had spent over a decade of his spare time working on Zodiac ciphers as a hobby. Ask yourself this: if the FBI's trained cryptographers couldn't crack this in 5 decades, why would 3 amateurs with day jobs succeed? The answer is almost embarrassingly modern. They had something the FBI's early investigators never had: powerful, purpose-built decryption software, freely available, combined with the ability to instantly collaborate across 3 continents and crowdsource ideas from a global community of amateur code breakers who had been quietly working this exact puzzle online for years. Blake, working alongside Belgian programmer Jarl van Eyck, creator of a specialized cipher-solving tool called Odds Decrypt, began testing Oranchak's theory that the 340 cipher combined both substitution and transposition, where earlier attempts checked patterns manually or with limited computing power. This team ran millions of candidate solutions through high-performance university computing clusters. Stay with me, because what happened next is the part almost no retelling gets right. On December 5th, 2020, one of the transposition patterns finally clicked. Words began to emerge from what had been random noise for half a century. The world was told this cipher, once cracked, would unmask a killer. The reality was almost anticlimactic. The decoded message contained no name, no address, no confession. Just a taunt, almost identical in tone to messages Zodiac had already sent decades earlier. For 51 years, the case remained unsolved. Not by accident, because the tools that could finally solve it, powerful accessible software, global online collaboration, crowdsourced expertise, simply didn't exist yet. This is the same pattern that gave a nameless child his identity, back 65 years after he was found, abandoned in a cardboard box. A case we told you about in an earlier episode. Official institutions worked for decades, hit a technological wall, and stopped. Then ordinary people, armed with tools that didn't exist when the case went cold, picked it up and finished what professionals couldn't. The Zodiac cipher wasn't cracked by trained federal cryptographers with unlimited resources. It was cracked by a software developer, a mathematician, and a programmer, working for free in their spare time, because the puzzle simply interested them. This isn't just a story about one code. It's proof of a pattern spreading across nearly every unsolved case from the 20th century. Physical evidence once considered useless is now solvable with genetic genealogy. Codes once considered unbreakable are now solvable with crowdsourced computing power. Cold cases that sat in filing cabinets for half a century are being reopened, not by new detectives, but by better tools in the hands of anyone curious enough to try. Most people assume old mysteries stay unsolved because nobody's still looking. The truth is almost the opposite. More people are looking now than ever before. They just don't work for the agencies you'd expect. There is still one Zodiac cipher left. 13 symbols, beginning with the words, "My name is." The same codebreakers who solved the 340 cipher believe it may be too short to ever crack through computation alone, meaning the very last piece of this 50-year puzzle might require something computers still can't provide. Luck. The Zodiac killer wanted to be remembered as unbeatable. For 51 years, he was right about one cipher. He no longer is. If a story like this deserves to be told in full, help us find the next one. Next time on Shadow Chronicles, we look at a case where a piece of evidence sat forgotten in a police basement for decades, until someone finally asked the one question nobody thought to ask.